Kuurne, Peter Sagan versus Greg Van Avermaet, a rematch of the week before where Van Avermaet pipped Sagan to the line in a sprint finish in the Omloop. And this is a flat course, goes from Kuurne down to Brussels, back to Kuurne, and then they do a flat circuit. And we're going to cut to the last 20 Ks where we have Luke Rowe of Sky, Benoot for Lotto, Trentin for Quickstep, and Jesper Stuyven for Trek, and obviously Peter Sagan for Bora on the front in the World Champs jerseys. They're in a break 25 seconds ahead, and here you got BMC riding for Van Avermaet, they're 25 seconds behind. So we've got one team on their own chasing. I think BMC had 3 domestiques on the front drilling it the whole time, and then that breakaway of 5 riders here. So we're going to look at Sagan in this break and what he does, his strategy, how the other riders interact with him. So they pretty much rolled turns for the most of it, but you could see pretty early on that Sagan was easily the strongest rider. He did, from the 20th K to about the 8th K, he was pulling at least 20-second turns and hard turns as well. Like the other guys on the back trying to tack back on, they were really in the hurt box, and you could just see guys like Benoot and Luke Rowe all like on their limit. Here's a full 30-second turn. You can see in this long straight, which is the finish. So they do the lap. This is the finish line coming up here, but they're going to do another lap. Behind is BMC chasing. But yeah, long turns for Sagan. The other guy's sitting on, and you can just see the disparity in strength is incredible. To be able to ride in a breakaway and pull the strongest turns, have other guys sit on, and also still be putting them in the hurt box is amazing. And then we'll get to the finish at a later date. So we've got 12K to go, but Sagan does do a few little things to put people under pressure. Like when he pulls turns, goes around corners, and when he's on the front, he just surges a little bit, makes Benoot tack back on with a Watts bike, and puts Luke Rowe under pressure as well. So just little things like that make sure people don't get a perfect sit. And Sagan doesn't get enough credit for being a cerebral rider. You're wondering, why does he pull off so far? He's having a look at everyone. He's analysing everyone else in this break. Are they under pressure? Who's looking strong? Who's looking like they're probably going to crack and can't compete in the sprint? We'll just do a hurt box face comparison here. Luke Rowe in the bin, Stuyven looking like he's under pressure. Credit to Benoot. It's spring in Belgium and he's in full summer kit, no gloves, while everyone else is in full winter kit. And Sagan just surging through. And I don't know what this hand signal means. I think he's just saying, don't even bother rolling over the front. Just sit on me for 30 seconds. We've got to make sure BMC don't catch back up. And even with 7K to go, he pulled a couple of strong turns. But Sagan's the sort of rider I've noticed, he can really hurt himself, do 30-second turns, drag a break at 48K an hour. But then if he gets any rest before a sprint, he can go again. That's why he's such a versatile rider. So 2K left, it's time for cat and mouse. It's time for strategy. He's tightening up the shoes, and Sagan's now thinking, what are these guys going to do? And they don't know what they're doing. Like they got team radio. It's not the rider's responsibility, in my opinion, to decide what to do in the later stages. You're at maximum heart rate or 95% of your lactate threshold. It's impossible to think rationally in those situations, and that's why you see irrational decisions made in pro cycling in the later stages of a race. So here, this was a perfect opportunity. 1.7k to go. It's slowed down. They're 2 abreast. Stuyven's looking around. No one's got the pressure on. The speed has dropped. They're going to win. They're ahead of the break. Someone should have attacked right here. Sky should have told Luke Rowe, if you want any chance of winning, you have to attack the minute it slows down. Put Sagan under pressure. Because in my opinion, if they ride to the line as a group of 5 and they let Sagan have a rest for the next 1.5 Ks, Sagan is going to win 85% of the time, I think. At least 85% of the time. Stuyven will probably win another 8% of the time, and Luke Rowe would win another 3%, and Benoot and Trentin 1%, 2% chance. So that's barely anything. 150 for Trentin and Benoot for being in a breakaway, if they just roll to the line like this, from a game theory perspective. So if you pair all the riders as individuals against each other, Sagan is going to win 8 times out of 10 at least. Whereas if these riders on different teams work collaboratively, they can make Sagan chase repeated breaks and attacks and then even out the odds for them. So if each of these 4 riders attacks, they have a chance I think they bring their chances up each of winning to say 15%, 20%, and reduce Sagan's chances down to sort of 10%. Sagan is not going to be able to chase 4 separate hard attacks all on his own and bridge them. Maybe he could 15% of the time, 20% of the time. But to just roll along and have one attack here, which Sagan doesn't even have to close. So it's a mistake by Luke Rowe. I have no idea why he just took it upon himself to close this gap. Sagan looked around and was like, thank you, I will hop on your wheel and have a rest as we go into the 500 metres of the finishing straight. And so basically for the last kilometre there's been one attack, which wasn't that hard. It's let Sagan sit on, he didn't have to close it, and Sagan's had at least 1 minute's full rest, and it's slowed down completely. He can regather his heart rate and have a look. No more attacks either. Benoot doesn't attack. And look at Sagan's positioning. He goes to the back of the group. No one's eyes are on him. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Look at his positioning. The most dangerous rider in the world, and no one can see him. Look at his sit. He can attack them at any time, and he launches from 250 metres out. A long sprint, this is great strategy again from Sagan. Don't leave it to chance. Make sure you have the legs, you have the power. Make it a long sprint. You're fitter than these guys. You know that from the turns you've been pulling and the pressure they've been under. And the gap he opens up on them is just unbelievable. He won this sprint in 100 metres, and he was like, wow, I still have like 100 metres left. I better keep pedaling. And when you look at the gap he opens up here, it's like the other guys don't even have like their run out of gears or something. Stuyven does pretty well, but again, there needs to be more of a game theory perspective with other cyclists banding together when you know that one rider is the strongest rider. And I want to see more of that in the Tour de France as well. Don't just think, oh, if I attack Chris Froome, then there's no chance I'll win. You have to think collaboratively, because if someone is so much stronger than you that if you just make it an equilibrium, they have an 80% plus chance of winning, well then you're not going to win anyway. So Sagan's still a beast. I apologise for what I said about him last week. Best rider in the world.